Hello, I'm Tony Guida. This is My New York. You may not have noticed, but the South Bronx is booming. On ground once scorched by fire, new apartments rise. Shops and restaurants are opening. Families are back. And the Bronx Music Heritage Center finally will get a new home in the South Bronx. That is a cultural bulletin for the neighborhood that gave the world hip-hop and nurtured salsa and Latin jazz and R&B. With me to talk about the creative fires now rebuilding the South Bronx is Bobby Sanabria, musician, educator, activist, and South Bronx native. Stay right there. I am delighted to welcome to the program Bobby Sanabria, a very busy man. This is a man who has been nominated for Grammy 7 times, I think. But you lead a band, you compose music, you teach at the Manhattan School of Music and other places. You are the co-artistic director of the Music Heritage Center in the Bronx. So I am really happy you found some time to be here.
Oh, thanks. It's a privilege and an honor. And especially with you, who's a fellow Bronxite.
Yes, we're both from the Bronx. You're from the South Bronx, I'm from the North Bronx, but Bronx. I imagine most of the people in our audience don't know or maybe have never heard of the Bronx Music Heritage Center. What is it?
Well, it's at this point right now, it's I could best describe it as a small art gallery space. It holds about 80 to 100 people, and we do everything there, from concerts to panel discussions. We've had New York Times best-selling authors talk about their latest works there. We've had well-known comedians from Comedy Central. We've had different forms of ethnic music featured there from the different groups that are in the South Bronx right now, because the Bronx has always been a haven for cultivating the immigrant communities. Before it was the Puerto Rican community, the great black migration from down south, the Jewish community, the Irish community, the Italian American community, even the German community. The South Bronx had a big German community at one time. And now it's people, believe it or not, from the Middle East, from Central Africa, from West Africa, and a new immigrant community again coming in from Ireland, Eastern Europe. So it's a great time to be a Bronxite and a great time just to be enveloped in this milieu of things that are happening, because there's so much synergy happening right now, especially in the South Bronx. It's really the place to be right now.
Well, as you described this place, you earlier told me, an analogy, the Bronx Music Heritage Center is like jazz at Lincoln Center for the Bronx, except that you just described it as a lot more than that. And the point I was making at the beginning of the program, it's finally going to get its own space, about 18 months from now?
Right, we broke ground on January 13th, this past January 13th, Friday the 13th, believe it or not, at a space big. It was actually the last lot available in the South Bronx for construction. And
that's amazing to think of that when you review those pictures that we probably all have in our minds of so much of the South Bronx being burned down
right
in the 70s.
And
you're saying this is, there was only one more lot available to build on, and that's where they're going to
Right, it's between 163rd and 164th Street on Melrose Avenue, which is basically 10 blocks from where I grew up. I grew up on East 153rd Street and Cortlandt Avenue in the Melrose Projects. So for me, it's very heartfelt. So this complex will have about 350 apartments, and it will be very income housing, and also
affordable housing.
Basically, and there will be a 300-seat multi-use auditorium, and there will be an atrium, there will be digital archives, there will be digital displays. There's going to be an amphitheater outside, because part of the history of the South Bronx when I was growing up was you heard the sound of conga drums in the summertime in the evenings, not only in the South Bronx, but in South Brooklyn. You heard it in Spanish Harlem and what we call El Barrio. So that drumming culture is very vital to our sustenance. It was vital to me. So we're going to recreate some of that also in that amphitheater. And we'll have classes like we have now at the Bronx Music Heritage Center. We have classes in percussion, we have classes in dance, and we have classes in piano as well. So we're just going to expand on that. And besides featuring great artists like we do right now, but on a smaller scale, we'll just be doing the same thing, but on a larger scale.
Right. It's impossible. It's almost impossible to overstate. You can't overstate the importance of the Bronx, and especially the South Bronx, in the music culture of this country. Talk
Right.
about that I mean, I talked about, hip hop and Latin jazz and
Salsa,
but
yeah.
put some flesh on those bones. Let's talk about the people.
Well, I always quote Dr. Mark Nason, who's the head of the head of African American Studies at Fordham University, and he's also on our board of advisors. He has said so succinctly that no other place in the United States has nurtured more forms of music than the South Bronx. The only other place possibly would be Treme in New Orleans,
Right.
Louisiana. You're talking about jazz. We had great jazz clubs in the Bronx, like the Blue Morocco, like the 845, where people like Miles Davis, Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, Dizzy Gillespie used to perform, and many others. We had a great history of doo-wop, as you well know.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
you could talk about I just saw a beautiful documentary on Janis Joplin, and most people don't know that her mother used to play for her Broadway show music for her and the family, and they used to reenact that. But when she heard the Chantels for the first time on the radio, and this was an all-girl group from the South Bronx, singing Maybe, she fell in love with African American music and the blues and R&B. So that's one side of the Bronx. Then you have the rock and roll culture of the Bronx, which is represented by people like Dion and the Belmonts.
Of course.
And then you have the ubiquitous gospel of the masses of the 1970s, what we call salsa, which was dominated by artists like the great NEA jazz master, the conga player Ray Barretto.
You played with him?
Yes, and the NEA jazz master, Maestro Eddie Palmieri, again, another native son of the Bronx. I call them SOBs, sons of the Bronx, like me and you. So that's just two examples. We have actually 6 National Endowment of the Arts jazz masters from the Bronx, particularly the South Bronx. Can you imagine? Herbie Hancock used to live, the great, he's won like 28 Grammys, great jazz pianist. He used to live in the South Bronx. When he came from Chicago, he lived with Donald Byrd, great trumpeter,
Right.
incredible jazz trumpeter, composer, arranger. But he was an educator. He taught at public school, and he stayed with Donald, and then finally he found an apartment. And then he made his bones with who? Mongo Santa Maria, great conga player, who used to live in the Bronx. And I started my career with Mongo Santa Maria. I came to the public's attention through him. So that's just a little bit of the history of the South Bronx. We've had incredible musicians from the jazz world living in the South Bronx, like Maxine Sullivan, the great vocalist. Thelonious Monk, the great jazz pianist, used to live on Lyman Place along with Maxine.
You rode me around not long ago and showing me so many of the changes, the apartment buildings that have risen, and the one that is going to rise that you were talking about, in which the Bronx Music Heritage Center will have space. This is an operation, a nonprofit company that probably no one has heard of, called WEDCO.
Right.
WHEDCO, and it stands for Women's Housing and Economic Development
Corporation.
And I don't want to overstate this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like WEDCO, which has already built apartments in the South Bronx, is pretty much responsible, or is largely responsible for turning it into what it is today. Is that?
I would say yes.
I mean, if I'm
but-
overstating, you can.
Well, I mean,
correct me.
there's so many. The people that really have to be given credit for are the pioneers that stayed in the South Bronx, like my parents and many other parents of people of my generation, who did not leave the South Bronx and abandon it. They said, no, this is our community. People like the great Evelina Antonetti, who was an activist and testified in Washington, D.C., and when some senator or congressman told her to sit down and shut up, and she said to him, no, you sit down and shut up and you listen. We're not going to move from here. I've raised my kids here, my grandkids, etc. We're a community here. So we're not going to abandon the South Bronx. You're going to listen to us, and all we need for you to do is just help us a little bit so we can get back on our feet and rebuild this great borough that was so majestic at one time with so much history. You know, the Bronx was the place to go to when you lived in East Harlem or West Harlem, and it was a place where the Jewish community was came to, and you know everybody was upwardly mobile because they were working class. The Italian community, the German community, the Irish community, etc. They were all working class, but they all had middle class values
And
they
aspirations.
Exactly, and they saw the South Bronx as a place to give them the opportunity to do that, and they did, and it did do that. But unfortunately, as history has shown us, with the building of the Cross Bronx Expressway, the building of the Bruckner Expressway by Robert Moses, unfortunately,
Well,
destroyed
across Bronx, Moses did some great things, but he did some terrible things.
Right.
And the Cross Bronx Expressway is one of them, barreled right through that neighborhood.
And
The
destroyed-
Sheridan isn't, but there was a story the other day that the governor wants to get rid of the Sheridan and make it back into the boulevard.
Well, I have heard of that, but if he does that, forget it in terms of traffic.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I drove.
Well, that's another story.
I drove through Sheridan to get here today, but you know, the thing that irks me is that when you mention the Bronx to people, right, they usually think of two things. They think, oh, hip hop was
Right.
born there, which that's true, and then the other thing is, man, I'm glad I don't live there. And I
Well,
wouldn't
the
want-
fires come to-
Right, or I don't want to live there. And they don't know any of this history that I just mentioned, which is just the tip of the iceberg. Just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, if you went to Woodlawn Cemetery in the Bronx and you see the people that were buried there, from the Woolworths to Duke Ellington to Miles Davis, I mean, you'd be going,
My parents.
right. My godfather is buried there. I mean, you think, why would these people want to be buried in the Bronx? It was because, as I said before, the Bronx was the place to be,
Yeah.
and it still is.
Getting back to the music, and I don't want to narrow the focus just to music, but music is so important as a culture. You know, it's spreading. excuse me, in identifying and culture in a culture or several cultures, and in being a cultural attribute to a place. And you've been talking about the Bronx in regard, the South Bronx and the Bronx in regard to music. I mean, there was a time when there were, I think, 65 clubs.
Right.
You know, music was all over the streets.
Right, between 65 and some people say even up to 75
And
nightclubs.
they were all gone.
Basically, yeah. And that was because of the fires. And then the coup de grace was, as you well know, any New Yorker that lived during that time period, the 1977 blackout.
Yeah.
That was the coup de grace.
Well, and also, I mean, maybe it didn't have to do with those, you know, that particular reality about clubs, but the public schools in the 70s cut out music education programs.
That was so important because it was a common thing I remember when I was very young, in first grade, I would see kids from public school walking around with little cases, and I wonder what those things are. And then I realized, oh, they're instrument cases. Because the South Bronx, well, the Bronx in general and the city at that time had one of the most progressive music, theater, and art programs and dance programs in the country. It was like a model for the arts. and all that was cut when the city went bankrupt, unfortunately, through malfeasance, as you well know.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the thing that I have to say about WETCO is that there are many great organizations doing fantastic things in the South Bronx that has helped this revitalization and this rise of the South Bronx like a phoenix from the ashes. But I think what's unique about WETCO is the way they've focused in on utilizing culture, is particularly music, in the rebuilding process. Because Nancy Bieberman, the executive director of WETCO, realized that you cannot have a neighborhood without art, because the people, no matter what ethnic group they may represent, are most of them, all of them, have always been kept alive through art.
Right.
For us, we don't go to a therapist. We put on a record, you know, of Little Anthony and the Imperials, or Tito Puente, or you know, Frank Sinatra. You know?
Yeah. Well, in line with what you're saying, I think their plan, WEDCO's plan for the building in which the Music Heritage Center will have space is to reserve what, 15% of the apartments for elderly musicians who may not have the means to really
Right. That's the
pay
plan.
market rate anymore.
Right, which is a very important thing, because so many great musicians that we have in the jazz world and in the world of salsa and Latin jazz and all those forms of music all intersect, R&B, rock, etc. For every big, you know, heavy metal rock star that you meet, there are others that are in the trenches there that are not on that, you know, A-list, but they're still working and viable, etc. But a lot of them don't have medical coverage, health benefits, etc., etc. And some of them, you know, once they're unable to work physically, then they have no means of income.
Right.
So it's hard for them to get, you know, apartments that are affordable.
Right.
So that's the plan. Now we're getting some pushback from the city, and
Oh, really?
in terms of that, because they don't want it. According to the city, we can't have a specific group targeted for those apartments, because they have to be available to everybody. So that's something that Nancy is dealing with right now.
Yeah,
So
well,
hopefully it'll have a positive
The
conclusion.
devil is always in the details.
Exactly.
But
Just the idea that she came up with that idea, when we heard that on the board of advisors, we all looked at each other going, wow, what an incredible, fantastic idea. Nobody's really thought of that.
right, which leads into the issue that this rebirth in the South Bronx is, as has happened in other places, putting pressure on housing, putting pressure on rents, and there's, I think you were telling me, fears of gentrification.
Right.
Talk a little bit about that.
I mean, gentrification, I mean, it's funny you talk about gentrification now, because that was the plan with Moses and them and Roger Starr, who had come up with the idea of planned shrinkage. How do you get rid of the people that are there living in the neighborhood already? Because at the time in the 60s, the buildings that were in the South Bronx that we traditionally call tenements, these buildings were over 100 years old, most of them, and the ones that are still left are over even older now. So they wanted to clean the slate with those buildings and rebuild with newer buildings. And Roger Starr, who was an advisor to the Mayor Lindsay at the time, came up with this ridiculous idea called planned shrinkage, where, okay, you want to get rid of the people, make it so uncomfortable for them to living in those areas that they want to move out. Shut down hospitals, shut down police precincts, shut down ambulatory services, shut down firehouses, and stop garbage collection.
Nice.
And what happened
And
was,
how you doing? You know?
yeah, right. And then between the redlining by the banks, if you were a owner of a tenement and you wanted to get a new boiler in the building and went to the bank for a loan, they tell you, oh, we're sorry, we can't give you that, Mr. Sanabria. So if you're an unscrupulous landlord at the time, some of them did this, as it's all documented, it's part of history. They said, well, hell with it, I'll burn the building. and collect the insurance money. I wind up making more money. Unfortunate thing was that a lot of people died, innocent people, not only tenants, but also police officers, firemen that responded to those events. So there's a lot of people walking around today, in my opinion, that should be in jail. Some of them are politicians, but that's a whole nother story.
Another story. We'll do another show about that. You know, I'm going to.
But I have to say, what the Bronx has always been a borough of resiliency, and that's part of the majestic history of the borough. The people that stayed and said, "No, I'm not leaving. This is my home, no matter what happens," and those are the real heroes that have to be commended in the South Bronx. You don't read about them or anything, like people like my parents,
Yeah.
et cetera.
I'm going to interrupt your narrative just for a moment to just introduce our audience to you as musician a little bit. I mean, you have the 19-piece band. Do you still have it?
Oh, yeah.
We'll come back to that. But, Bobby Sanabria is a really well accomplished, just a terrific musician in his field. And here's an example. Yeah, that's
looks
Afro-Cuban. I should explain to the audience perhaps that video is a little odd because we're hearing the whole band, but we're only seeing you, and it's a promotional film that was made by you saw the name in the corner. Was it Vic Firth?
Vic Firth.
That's the drumsticks, right?
Yeah, the company makes the sticks.
That you use. That was your band, and of course you. To me, I was hearing the Melody Caravan.
Well, that's good that you mentioned that because the harmonies are certainly similar to that. But that's a piece called the Afro-Cuban Jazz Suite for Duke Ellington. So it's if you keep listening, it's a whole mess of Duke Ellington pieces done in a suite.
Oh.
And that was part of an album we did with my 19-piece big band called Multiverse back in 2012, and it was nominated for 2 Grammys. So that particular suite, in and of itself, by Michael Philip Mossman, was nominated for a Grammy for Best Large Ensemble Composition and Arrangement, and the whole album was nominated.
How does somebody keep a 19-piece band together?
With great difficulty.
in these times.
With great difficulty. We don't perform as often as we'd like. I'd like to. I have other groups. I have a small group called Ascensión, which is a 9-piece group, and I have a smaller group even than that called Cuarteto H, 4-piece group. And sometimes I fly out to different universities and conduct their big bands, and I work as a guest soloist with them. I do master classes, clinics all across the country and the world. And when we do perform here in New York City with that 19-piece big band, it is a special event. We'll be in November at Dizzy's Club Coca-Cola in New York City.
Oh, fabulous. What a great room that is, at Jazz at Lincoln Center.
For me, that's my favorite room to play in New York City. Just the way the management treats the musicians. It's a model for the way a jazz club should be run.
It's very comfortable room for the customers. It's apparently the sound is exceptional. You would know more about that than I.
Right.
But I'll be there. Send me the date. I'll be.
Yeah. I mean, I have to commend Wynton Marsalis and his whole staff. It's an amazing thing that he's done with for America's greatest art form, and we hope, and that inspires us. That inspires me certainly, in the work that I'm doing here at the Bronx Music Heritage Center.
Well, I wonder if you can. You've been talking about it all through the program, but if you can synthesize or wrap up for me, what's the mood in the South Bronx these days?
I think the mood in the South Bronx these days is one of, as what we say in Spanish, esperanza, hope.
Hope.
Because you have all these new immigrant communities coming from Central and South America, Ecuadorians, Colombians, Paraguayans, people from West and Central Africa, from North Africa, from the Middle East, from Eastern Europe, and they're all coming. And there's a big Chinese migration to the South Bronx as well. They're all coming for the same reason that your parents, my parents, our grandparents, if they were able to, came to the South Bronx for a better life for their children. I mean, and that's really the crux of what the Bronx is about.
And is the vibe today that it would seem to be self-evident in what you're talking about, but just to the vibe today that hope can be realized?
Oh, most definitely. The fact that the fact that WETCO has done what it's done, and other great organizations in the South Bronx have done the same thing. That we're all contributing to this synergy that's happening. Listen, I got to tell you, I grew up in the projects, in the Melrose Projects. The Melrose Projects was a place where if you told somebody, hey, when you were a kid, why don't you come over and visit me in my neighborhood? Where do you live? In the Bronx. And they go, and you go, where? And they would go, where? The Melrose Projects. They wouldn't say no. They would say, hell no. You know? So, but I'm a product of that area, and I'm not the only one. People like David Gonzalez from the New York Times is a product of the South Bronx, and many other people. You just have to walk down the Grand Concourse and see the names on the street signs.
The Walk of Fame.
Yeah, your name is up there.
And yours.
We're very proud that you're a son of the. You're an SOB, a son of the Bronx.
I'm an SOB. People have called me that. They told me that a lot. I don't think they had that particular idea in mind. By the way, folks, I didn't do anything except be born in the Bronx, and so my name is up there somewhere. I don't.
But we're very proud of you and everybody else that is from the. I mean, listen. It's so strange. There are so many people that are from the Bronx that have contributed to the history of this country. That the other day I was talking to somebody and we were talking about that old TV show, Lost in Space, and remember the professor. I think his name was Zachary, the actor.
Yeah.
Zachary Taylor, I believe his name. He's from the Bronx. People don't know that. So Bill Graham, the great rock impresario, at the age of 10, he was an orphan. He survived the Nazi death camps. They sent him to the Bronx. He grows up in the Bronx. He's a graduate of DeWitt Clinton High School.
Bobby, it's a delight to talk to you about the home ground, the old home ground, and to hear about the progress that's being made, and the Bronx Music Cultural Center, Heritage Center. And I thank you for being here.
Thank you. And I have to mention before we leave, my co-artistic director, she's really the genius behind a lot of the programming that we do. Elena Martinez, the great folklorist.
Yeah.
And the hall, when it's completed in 18 months, will be called the Bronx Music Hall.
Okay. We have to leave it there, but I thank you, and we're going to leave you with more of Bobby Sanabria, musician.